And to all of you here in person and to all of you watching from home, we're so glad that you're here for what is our 9th annual She Believed She Could, So She Did program. And each year, I just take a second of personal privilege to give a shout out to my mentor, Cindy Krupa, who helped to form me as a young person in the event and meeting industry, an industry primarily comprised of women. And if it weren't for her and a lot of other women in my life, my mom, my aunts, all that, I wouldn't be the person that I am. So I thought, God, this program would be so incredible. There are so many wonderful stories to tell on our campus, and this is one way we could do it. I'm super grateful to my other mentor right here, Jennifer Griffin, VP of Resident and Community Engagement and Outreach, for taking on the helm of this program and leading the charge today. And I'm going to stop talking with that and let her run with this. But how about a round of applause for our entire panel and for yourselves? And enjoy your evening.
I guess we're on. Oh, we are on. Way to go, Jackson. Love that. Love it when it works, don't we? You all, thank you so much for being with us this evening. This is one of our fun, favorite annual events that we do. I think this may be the 10th year, 9th or 10th. And to Brian's point, it's a way for us to celebrate the women in the world, the women in our lives, the women who have made us who we are and for whom we are so grateful. And I will tell you right now, this is a knockout panel here. I could do an hour or two with them individually. So you're in for a treat to hear some great stories and struggles and life paths and all the good things that happen. So let's just dive in, shall we? Shall we do that? I want to introduce everybody really briefly, just a little snippet of a little background, and then we'll start talking to some questions. And you, my dear, are first. Katina Simmons. Go.
I'm a fairly new resident here. I love living here. I have lived in a lot of different exotic places, but this is home. And I love East Dallas, love White Rock Lake, love the people of Dallas. So it's exciting to be home.
Love that. Wait till you hear some of her journey. And Miss Michelle Thomas.
So first of all, good afternoon, everyone. What a delight to be here today, and thank you so very much for the invitation. I'm Michelle Thomas. I've been at JPMorgan Chase for 25 years, and I lead their philanthropic investments across 9 states. I don't do it all. We have a team that also helps, and I'm thrilled to be here. My whole career has been in philanthropy, so I'm excited about it.
And your father is with us
yes,
in the
and
Health
my
Center.
father is with us here. He's on the 6th floor. His name is Bernard Thomas, in case you all run into him. He's 92 years young.
Precious.
Wow, yeah.
And I'm an only child, and I tell people oftentimes that he's living with a little bit of dementia, but what gives me the greatest joy every day is that he remembers my name. And for that, it's the best day ever, is what I say, the best day ever.
Amen.
All right, and Miss Lynn McBee.
Well, I'm excited to be here. Thank y'all for coming out for this, and thank you for having us. And I was just telling Patty Sullivan, my buddy back in the back, that I've lived in Dallas now 32 years. I can't believe it. But I started in the biotech industry. I have a background in biochemistry. And then for the past 12 years, I've had the honor of leading the organization called Young Women's Prep Network. And we're a network of 12 public, all-girls schools based across the state of Texas. And we started right here in Dallas. And our schools are for girls that are smart and have all of the potential in the world, but their circumstances, they're born into a situation where they're first generation, they haven't gone to college, their parents haven't gone to college, usually under-championed, under-resourced, and so our role is to get them to and through college, and so work with 6,200 wonderful young women.
That's wonderful.
And wow, right? You don't even know the half of it yet, but thank you all for being here. Again, such a treat to have you. And if I can, let's just dive in and start talking about kind of your journey. My favorite thing when I'm talking to somebody is to understand their journey and how they got to where they are today. And the paths are always, more often than not, kind of like this. So Katina, you started out as an art history major. By the way, the lineup here is Texas Tech, 2 years, UT 2 years, OU,
Mm-hmm.
and Texas, UT. So there you go. We've got Southwest Conference representation here. Tell us a little bit about your story, because I think the launching point for you was maybe after school when you went to Europe to study. You want to tell a little bit about that?
Well, I'll start with my mother.
Yes.
Strong, panhandle woman. And my dad. I mean, I'm definitely, I have benefited from the encouragement. My mother only graduated from high school, but she was a lifelong learner. And because of that, our whole family learned. And I had a younger brother, a brother who was 2.5 years younger than I. And I was thinking about moments that reminded me of who Mother was. And I remember for a time, my brother and I were living together, and I walked into the house, and he had a magnifying glass, and he was looking at a plant with this magnifying glass. And I thought, that is Pauline's son, because he was looking at the cells on the leaf and everything. And it was so fun, because my mother just opened the world up to us. And I feel like that still impacts my life and how I see life around me and everything about it, the people, nature. My mother was totally into birds and plants, so just appreciating all of that is so important. So I've had the privilege of living from the lushness of the Pacific Northwest to North Africa. So, and seeing the beauty in all of those different environments. So,
Right.
and appreciating them as well.
Yes, yes. Parents are so important through the whole journey.
Mm-hmm.
Michelle, tell us a little bit about your starting point.
Yeah, so I come from a family of educators, and my mother was a teacher in the Dallas Independent School District, and I had an uncle who was a coach at Roosevelt High School, DISD, and he went on became the athletic director for the Dallas Independent School District, and then my other uncle was a coach at Pinkston. I share that because when I think about my journey and my undergraduate degree at the University of Oklahoma, I got it in education. And so I ended up getting my statewide certification to teach in the state of Texas as well as in Oklahoma. But I've never taught. And my mother said to me, she says, Michelle, she said, get your job in education. She says, they're going to always be teachers as long as people are always having babies. So there's going to be stability in that space. And I said, oh, okay. So that was the reason why I landed there. But it wasn't until I got out of college that I got my first job at InterFirst Bank, which is now Bank of America. So you go through all those different mergers, InterFirst, NCNB, Nations Bank, and then Bank of America. And it was a guy who I went to get my MBA part-time in finance, and it allowed me to get into the credit training program. So that's how I ended up in this space. And I tell people often in their career was one of the things in which my mother shared with me early on. She said, because if you know anything about teachers, you know they don't get paid a lot. But one thing about my mother, for 40 years in the industry and space, she absolutely loved teaching children. And she said to me, she said, Michelle, find a job that you love, that if they paid you less, you would still want to do it. And in the space of philanthropy, which is my trajectory, so I went on, I became a banker in the private bank, and that's lending to high net worth individuals. It was amazing, but banking is a sales job. So if you are a client in any line of business, they want you, it's kind of like bundling at Spectrum. They want your, they want your loan, they want your mortgage, they want all of it, it's your deposits. And so I didn't really want a sell job. And so when I reflect back onto my career today, is that when in the space of philanthropy, we know the pure definition of the word philanthropy is to serve the least of them. And every day it gives me a tremendous amount of joy when you're either supporting people that, like you said, are under champion, that have low academic achievement, do not have affordable housing, that may be homeless. I mean, it just, if they paid me less, not that I would want to, but if they did, I would still want to do it.
Well said. How about you, Lynn?
Well, I mean, I grew up in a small town in South Texas, and one thing I always say about small towns is you have, everybody's in it together, everybody knows each other's business, and you know who has resources and has a family that can pour into them, and you know who doesn't. And so it's a real daily job of just developing empathy. And I was lucky to have parents that drug us around everywhere, and we volunteered and we gave back. And so kind of that philanthropic, charitable, like you've got to help your neighbor type thing. And so I think that's something that's alive and well in Dallas, is that we are a city that wants to dig in and help. And so anyway, I say that because that's shaped a lot of outside of what I do professionally. I do a lot of volunteer work, and I give a lot of hours, and I do that because it is how I was raised. And so that's a gift to grow up in a small town, to be exposed to a lot of different things. If you live in a big city, you don't have to go and look at different parts of the city. And I would say that I always tell people, get outside of your, what your bubble is, because it's such a wonderful way to develop empathy, meet people, understand just the way different people live. But it's kind of fast forward. I have a degree in biochemistry. I was that science and nature girl. I was out collecting bugs, playing in the ditches. My parents were like, "What in the world?" But I was saying, I think I told you, Jen, that my dad had a bachelor's and a master's in mathematics from UT, and he worked at Dow Chemical and mathematician and all of that. So they were very much like, you can do whatever you want to do. And I had two sisters, and they were playing with baby dolls, and I with the chemistry sets. But they were still, you can do what you want to do. And so when I went to UT, I thought I would get a PhD, and I actually, went into, after I got my biochemistry degree, I went to Baylor College of Medicine in Houston, and I was in the program for about 6 months, and I was like, I applaud people that are PhD scientists. It is a calling, but I've got so many loves and so many interests, and it wasn't going to, so I was in that program about 6 months, and I was like, and it's funny, this was the first time I'd kind of ever quit something, if you will, but I've looked at it, it wasn't quitting, it was just changing course, because it wasn't going to be a fit for me. I was recruited by a biotech company out of Boston. I moved up to Boston as a 23-year-old. I didn't know anybody in Boston, and loved the city. Was a very early hire of a very large biotech company. Now I was there for about 20 years. After 2 years of living in Boston, if you've been to Boston, you know how cold it is, you know how dark it is. And I was, after 2 years, and I was in the lab, and I can remember snow up above our lab windows. I was like, I got to get back to Texas. We were a growing company, and one of the good things about being in a startup is you do a lot of different things. And they were like, well, we could move you back to Texas. We could put you in Dallas, and maybe you could help us with business development. So as a 25-year-old, they gave me all this responsibility to set up subsidiaries and distributorships, and I went all over Latin America, the United States, and New England Biolabs is the company. It's still privately held. I have I have an equity position in it, but it is now the leader in genomic research. And I only say that because at the time, I was just doing my job and was entrusted with, you can do this. And so I just put my head down, worked hard, and did that. And then about 12 years ago, this opportunity really fell in my lap to lead this organization that is about really developing young women to be leaders, young women to hopefully have STEM careers, young women to succeed and make a life after they get out of college. And we all have these milestone birthdays, and I was 45, now everybody knows I'm 57, that was 12 years ago, and I was 45, and I was like, do I want to do this the rest of my life with New England Biolabs? Because if I don't move up to Boston, I can't really move up. And this opportunity literally fell in my lap. And I had somebody that called me that was chairing the board, and they were looking for somebody, and I was giving them different names. I said, you need to hire someone from the business community, because a nonprofit is a business. It's just a different tax code. And I believe that, and it is. And so I kept giving names. And finally, she called back. She was very persistent. She said, well, we want you to do this. And I said, well, I have a job. And I took a step back, and I thought, if my, at the end of, my last day on earth was today, what are the things that are important to me? Women being strong, women being leaders, women being educated, hopefully women being scientists. And I was like, this might be a God thing. I need to take a chance and do this. And so we were 5 schools at the time. We now have 12 schools. I have a great team. So, building and creating is something I love doing. And of course, the girls are like all the joy because they're amazing. So life is not linear. Your path is not linear. I was on and off ramps and just, keeping my head down and working hard and
Nothing like a good pivot, as they say.
Yeah, it wasn't, you think you're failing, but you're not. You're course correcting.
Going a different direction.
Yeah.
So I noticed the common thread through all of you is the strong foundation with your family and your parents and being encouraged all along. Were there, we can go back on the calendar, but were there obstacles being women coming up, or did you face anything that was maybe better now that wasn't so good back then for women? Katina, I know what your answer is. You want me to quote you? It was not an issue. I was like, okay. Nothing. You don't want to elaborate? You just we're pretty much could do whatever was presented to you.
I feel like I came along at a time where there was just so much opportunity, and there really wasn't resistance. And I had a cheering section behind me, my family, and so I felt like I can do this.
Yeah, the support always wins out, right?
Michelle,
Michelle, do you feel the same?
Yeah, I think I believe that there was support when you first come on early in your career, though. But if you're a woman, sometimes then you're going into corporate finance, and part of it as a banker is that you got to build a book of business. And a lot of it comes with referrals and networks. And so if you think of someone that grew up, dad worked at the post office, mother was a teacher, those are really relatively middle-skilled occupations. And so then when you go in this big firm and you're trying to build out your portfolio, it's harder, and it's particularly hard for a female woman of color. And so for me, it was difficult for, you need to build relationships early. And I honestly was able to build the relationships, and you have to have someone who is willing to invest in your community, invest in your growth. And I found that one is, who is my mentor today, is Norm Bagwell. He, Norm well.
He's great.
He hired me at Bank One. And they're my friends to this date. He became regional chair of Bank of Texas, and the other one was Larry Ham when I was at Bank One, and both of them wanted to see me be successful. But early on, when you're coming from finance and a banker, and then I get in the role of philanthropy and have this network. So early in my career, I didn't necessarily have those building blocks. So, but it's okay. Because you find women along the way, and it just forces you to work harder and stronger and to force yourself to have a seat at those tables. And so, yeah, thank you.
I think as I look back on it, and I've been asked about this at UT at the time. 25% of the class were women that were in biochemistry or chemistry or biology. But it didn't even faze me, and I have to go back, and now it's about 50%, and so we've made a lot of progress, and that's great. But I think it was that strong foundation from my parents and my dad, and just that encouragement of, you can do this, and you can do this. And so it didn't really dawn on me that, I studied with a lot of guys, because that's just what you did. That's not always a bad thing, right? And so, but looking back on it, it could have been a bigger barrier, but I think just that strong, solid foundation and that encouragement. We had affinity groups, women in science, and different things, and so, and that's even more now at colleges, universities. There's a lot of affinity groups that are going to help lift up women so that we can, share and be supportive. But it should have been more of a struggle. But again, that strong foundation, I think, of people, and then having, my parents to lean on and call home when things were hard, and have these support groups of friends, and finding the people that'll help push you forward. But yeah.
Yeah, don't you find that, especially as you're growing, as you're going through school and getting to the next step, that what seems like a struggle, either maybe your age or being a woman of color, or just not knowing your path, not knowing what the next step is, Did you find in those early years that there was a sense of resilience, buckling down, like I'm going to do this, or you met an obstacle that really caused you to pause and go, have I made the wrong step here? What's going on? No part of yours, but again, I think you said yours was never an issue, no struggle. You had a couple of health issues along the way, but that was later years.
That was later, yes. Well, I felt like because of my family that it was like you can if whatever is the desire of your heart, you can accomplish it. I mean, I had a very strong faith, and that, of course, gave me great confidence that, I mean, God is going to open the door. He's going to close the door if it's not the right door, so that's a good thing, or he's going to open it wide.
So rather than resilience, yours was just perseverance. Just keep walking. Is that the same for you two?
Yeah. I mean, I think it was definitely for me, because when I first came out of credit training, I was placed at Bank of America over in the Oak Cliff branch. It's right off of Zane and Beckley. And it was not necessarily a neighborhood at that time where it was growing. So you think about the physicians at Methodist. They either have been in business for a long period of time. Your largest grant amount may be an acquisition type loan, or you're buying new equipment for your practice. And so it wasn't like they've been there forever, and so it's not like they're getting ready to do any of that. And so I had to have some level of resilience to kind of plow through that, because you're trying to meet your goals every month. And so it was, I think, the tenacity that I had that understood I wanted to be successful in that space. And so I went to my manager and I said, when people walk in, can you give me those walk-in clients? Can you have me a seat at the table when you're trying to walk through how you're analyzing this credit, and what are the risks should I be looking at? And so at the end of the day, I did become a pretty good banker. And so I can also credit that to a little bit of my persistence, as well as his commitment to wanting me as a woman on his team, and the only woman on his team at the time, to do better.
Wow, the only woman. There you go. All right, Lynn.
I mean, I've
resilience
always,
in
yeah,
there?
resilience and persistence. I mean, I'm going to keep my head down and I'm going to get it done. But I will tell you, it's not done without forming a good team. And so any problem that I'm trying to tackle, or anything that I'm dreaming up a solution for, it happens in terms of, I know what my skills are and what I can bring to the table, and I also know what I can't. And so I love to put teams together that we can actually meet our goal, and we can all get excited about it, and we can, but I am persistent and dogged until I just keep on keeping on. My mother would always say that, you just keep on keeping on, and I do, until we're, where we need to be on whatever project or a work goal or a community activity, but it's never done alone. It's always with, you're talking about, having your team, your work team, and I mean, you have your work team, and you have your family team, and you have your charitable team, and I mean, you have teams, and that's how you get things done. And so yeah, just keep on keeping on and setting those goals. And
yeah, I think women generally are very collaborative on everything.
Yeah,
I was having a meeting one day at work, and a good female friend of mine here said, you have too many people in this meeting. You'll never get anything done. I'm like, but I want everybody's input. I want them to understand the goal. And so we're all in this together. Let's hold arms and run through Red Rover and make sure that we get through the barriers here. Yes, it's a collaborative environment with women always. Detours, though, happen. And that's kind of like when you switched from biotech and research to go up to
to Boston.
A whole different thing. And
different world.
And you, my dear, went all over the country and internationally, and outside of college went straight to Europe to work on your postgraduate studies.
Right.
And then this one, back in the day, told her professor, well, I think the way I really should do this is to just tour Europe and see all the art galleries in Europe. I'm like, I love that idea. And he bought it. And so tell the story, Katina. This is great. She literally went around to all the fabulous European art galleries and reported back.
Well, it was 1968. And I had a graduate degree at the University of Hamburg in Hamburg, Germany. I studied Kunstgeschichte, which is art history.
Wait, say it again.
Kunstgeschichte.
Okay, well, I'll let her say it.
Yeah.
That's my Texas accent with German. But I mean, he'd never met anyone like me. I mean, in 1968, you sat in a dark classroom and the slides were black and white. So
Oh.
can you imagine looking at Rubens and Vermeer and Rembrandt in black and white? So that's when and I was in Hamburg, so I was in northern Germany. So France was close, Holland, the Scandinavian countries. I mean, Italy wasn't that, it was just a train ride away. So fortunately he said, go find everything that you're looking for and come back and tell me about it. And it was awesome.
I bet. I want to do that right now. How long did you do that? Was that a year or two?
I was a year and a half at the University of Hamburg in Hamburg, Germany.
Yeah.
So it was awesome because my brother, who was 2.5 years younger, was studying in Amsterdam, in Holland. So we were able to travel together and have our parents come and visit us. So it was a great time, and a great time to be in Europe.
Yeah, sounds like it. I'm so jealous of that, actually. Michelle, did you have a detour along the way? Or many detours?
So I actually didn't necessarily have a detour. I'm one of those people that are pretty much complacent. And when I say complacent, when I find something I really enjoy doing, I typically have stayed in it. Because again, I remember I told you my mother was at the school district for 40 years. My dad was at the post office till he retired. And so when I came out of college and went to the bank, it was the executive that said to me, Walter Elcott, said, Michelle, you went through the credit training program. I think you would be amazing at doing college recruiting. And I said, okay, because you've been through the training program, you can advise. And I've always believed that you find a career that gives you exposure internally and externally. And I was at tables while we were recruiting for the corporate bank as well as the investment bank. And so you have this slate of resumes, and you're trying to broker between the two. Is this the best fit for the Treasury Service? Is this the best fit for the private bank? And so I'm at the center trying to broker those conversations. So that was one. So I didn't have to necessarily look for that. He identified me. Then I'm in college recruiting, and my friend Tyra Sanders, who's now president of Regions Bank, says to me, Michelle, you're from Dallas. You have a good background. You know a ton of people. You grew up with Eddie Congresswoman, then it wasn't Congresswoman at the time, Eddie Bernice Johnson. You would be amazing in community work because you know the challenges and the opportunities. He tapped me. I went over to that. That's how I got in the space of philanthropy, because people often ask me, how did you get this amazing gig? Most people think it's just amazing to give away money. It is great. It's great, but it is a challenging job. People don't think of it as, and most of the time I would say men don't think of it. It's the strategies and approaches and what problems you are trying to solve for. And at JPMorgan Chase, the budget globally is $350 million. And so the budget locally, even for Texas, is a $40 million under asset. But it's not even thinking about the whole portfolio across the 9 states. And so I just can't go in there and say, oh, I love the Boys and Girls Club. Well, I used to be able to do that when I was sitting at the table.
You did some great gifts to me. Thank
You can sit at the table with Norm Bagwell. He's the regional president, and we'll sit literally like this in this office, and he'll say, well, what do you think we should fund? And I said, well, Norm, I'm thinking the Boys and Girls Club. And he says, well, why? And I said, well, if you think about the Boys and Girls Club, they're connecting in-school learning with out-of-school time. So if in the 4th grade or the 3rd grade or 2nd grade, whatever, they're learning math, I said, but what at the end of the day, when they go to the after-school program, it may look like that they're just doing music classes. I said, but what they're actually learning is 2 half notes equal a whole. I said, so they're learning math and thinking and drawing it back to what they learned in school time. He said, oh. Okay, well, what do you think? Well, I said 25,000, and it's like a done deal. But today's environment is like totally different about how we're thinking about it. But fast forward to answer to your question. So most of my opportunities have just come from people who have seen the value in your work, and so now I've been at JPMorgan Chase for 25 years. I was at Bank of America for about 15 years until the merger happened. And then I found a job in 2 months. It was NCNB Nation Bank. And I said to myself, I said, I'm never going to be able to find another job in philanthropy. I said, people just stay in these jobs. Well, I mean, they just stay in the job. And then it was like, I said, okay. Then I found this job in 2 months, and they paid me for 9. So you asked me what that money is today, I don't know, but I did. I got paid, double paid for 9 months. But anyway, so then I go over to the Associates, which is in Irving. They get acquired. They get acquired by Citibank.
Yeah.
And I'm like, here we go again. And I was so upset about that one because I knew this girl named Carla Winfrey, who her cousin is Oprah Winfrey, and she had got me tickets to the show. And so I was like, so the head team was getting ready to come in from Citibank, and they want to interview everybody. And I decided to stay and still got laid off. And I was sick about it. So I wanted to go see Oprah. And so fast forward, I find this job. I say to myself, I'm never going to be able to find a job in philanthropy. So I interview at Bank One with Norm and Larry Helm, and I end up getting a job. But it taught me a valuable lesson about life. It gives you some sort of perspective. And I said to myself, Michelle, what is the absolute worst thing that can happen to you in life if you don't get a job right away? And if we think about how blessed we all are to even be at this facility of CC Young, I said to myself, what is the worst thing that can happen to you in life? And the worst thing that could happen to me, my only child, I says to go back home to my mom and dad's 4-bedroom air-conditioned house. Not going to be on the street. So for that reason, I'm forever grateful when these little things come in turn. So if something, So when JPMorgan Chase Bank One merger came, I wasn't really concerned about it because I knew that God would take care of me again. So.
Amen.
Exactly.
Amen.
Exactly. Okay, Miss Lynn, a detour for you. Your path is,
I stayed in science, but when I decided that I was not going to get the PhD, and I was like, okay, what am I going to do? And it's interesting, that job kind of fell in my lap. I sent 2 of my CVs out to companies, one in Austin and one in Boston. And the Boston company called, I flew up, and they hired me. And so that was and honestly, I still have a small position in the company, so that's 34 years. And then Young Women's Prep, 12 years ago, that opportunity just came. And I think I've been lucky, but I work hard. And I think that people, can look at somebody's CV, they can look at someone's body of work, and they know who, is working hard. And I think, you get tapped for things when people see things in you. And so I think the persistence of the board chair with the girls' network of schools, I mean, they saw me out working hard in the community, caring about a lot of things, but caring about young girls that didn't have the background to succeed. And so I've had 2 jobs. I mean, that's it, 2 companies, New England Biolabs and Young Women's Prep Network. So I stay a long time, but I do a lot of other things in the city, and I think that brings a lot of joy to me. I work on a lot of really tough issues, and it keeps I'm not a person that's a good custodian. I'm a builder, and I'm a person that likes to solve. And so when I get in a position, that's why we went from 5 schools to 12 schools, and now we're having earned revenue with with Young Women's Prep. I can't stay steady state. I've got to be building and creating and solving. And it's just, I think it's that scientific, searching for the answer, whatever it is. But where was I going with that? Oh, that is why I have my hands on a lot of things in Dallas, and just love working with people, helping people, solving these problems. And but I've only had really 2 companies, two jobs. So I haven't had, lots of bank mergers. I, had 1 biotech company and 1 nonprofit. So it's been,
and touching 6,200 young women.
That's
What
awesome.
an impact is that? For sure.
It really is. It's a lot of joy. We opened our 2nd school here in the Box Springs, Pleasant Grove area. I don't know, how many people know. A lot of people are like, I can't believe that's in Dallas ISD because it seems so east. And it is wonderful to watch these girls start to grow. We get them out in the community. They wear uniforms, and so just the pride. People will come up since they have the uniform and say, "Where do you go to school?" No one's even a lot of times these girls, no one's said much to them. They live in an apartment up the street. They go to school. They go back home. And so to get them out and to have them, at the Meyerson, or have them at the DMA, or have them at a luncheon wearing a uniform with people acknowledging and saying, "Who are you? Where are you going to school?" It's those kinds of things that, just caring about people and showing support for people. I always say it's really, we're kind of off your topic, but it's really easy to be nice and to be kind, and that goes so far, and you never know. You just don't know what you're doing to change people's lives. But I will tell you, with these girls, I'm watching it, and they're amazing. By the time they graduate and get ready to go off to college, we have 100% of our girls since we were founded have gone to a 4-year college, and 70% have graduated, and that's 2.5 times the national average.
Awesome.
So that all the stuff that we are pouring into them in 6th through 12th grade, they're taking that. We have an alumni program too, but it's just, pouring into people and showing them a path and being supportive, and you get really good results. It's really, it's not that hard. It's really not.
Yeah, and if I may chime in on Lynn McBee, she's very modest. She is incredible because the majority of those students come from low to moderate income families. Yeah. And it takes a certain kind of person, leader, to be able to help shape the lives. I tell people oftentimes, unless you have had a lived experience, you're constantly learning. So if you didn't grow up in a low to moderate income family, if you don't know what it means to not be able to have a clean shirt or a blouse, if you having to pass down and share all the clothes, and the data in which you're sharing about the success model is huge. And I salute you every day.
The girls are amazing, and I'm going to go back to, I credit my parents, because that empathetic, we've got to get beyond ourselves, and we need to, again, be kind and help our neighbor and support people that, it was like you have a duty to help people that need some kind of support. And so I think that's, that's where the empathy comes from, and that's where I take it as a real responsibility that these girls get to and through college. I see their parents' faces. I know what they want for their girls. They don't know how to get them there, and so I take it real seriously. It's people think a lot of times. So I always say nonprofit work. It's just a different tax code. I've been in a biotech company. I know that side of the for-profit making money side, but there is such joy in changing people's lives, and nonprofit work is important work. And a lot of times it's like, it's just that nonprofit stuff. Oh no, that's where the change happens. You see it all the time, the philanthropy and the dollars that y'all get to do to really drive change. So we kind of got a little bit off topic, but
it's okay. I will tell you from my experience all through my life, I've never really knew what my trajectory was going to be, but I knew something was missing. And when I came to nonprofit with CC Young and to all these wonderful folks here, it was like I finally figured it out. It was like, this is what makes my heart sing. So I hear you loud and clear. It's just finding what that is for each individual person is so key. So key. And by the way, we haven't even touched on your whole missionary life and all that took you to do. Talk about helping people all over the globe. You want to spend a minute on that?
Well, I've been inspired by them, but it helps me to think about, I know what it's like to invest in others. And those who I have chosen to invest in are refugees. And seeing them especially in North Africa and in Spain and here in Dallas, and seeing people who have lost everything or had to leave everything behind and totally start over. But they have the will. They will do whatever it takes. And when we come along beside them and give them an encouraging word and are there with them, it's such a reward to see them succeed.
So you were in Uganda and Spain and
Oh, well, and I was in North Africa and southern Algeria.
yeah. I mean, talk about global impact. And then you even coming back home, you're still doing
Right. Well, I'm
mission.
working with refugees here in Dallas.
Right.
So.
And you want to share your age so everybody understands? You're never too young or never too old. It always to make a difference.
Well, I celebrated my 81st birthday last November.
Oh,
See?
Yay.
Yay.
that's wonderful.
So I'm very thankful for every day that God gives me
I tell you,
and that I can still be productive.
I think
you
that's
all inspire me. I just, wow. Did I tell you this is a powerhouse panel we have here
well.
today?
I will say that I love the fact that you kind of giving and doing the experiences here at a local level. I tell people oftentimes that for me personally, the role of philanthropy has kept me humble. And because in the world of philanthropy, there are big top donors. And I remember my personal learning is that y'all know that Gene and Jerry Jones, they big supporters of the Salvation Army. So they had a patron party at their home, and I got an opportunity to go at the bank one side because we were a sponsor of the Salvation Army. And I went to the home. It is absolutely, as you can imagine, gorgeous. I mean, big, beautiful chandeliers that are gold. I mean, faucets that are gold. I mean, you've been to the house.
have
It's just-
fountains.
it's
Yeah,
fountains,
marble,
every marble,
marble,
it's
lots
just
of trophies.
Trophies.
Beautiful
Yeah,
trophies.
beautiful. So I go home, and I live in a townhome. And then I looked down, I was like, oh, I sure wish I had some hardwood floors. I've been here for a long period of time, and I need to get me some granite countertops. Just complaining. The next day, I get up, and I have a site visit. So I'm going over to Vogel Cove.
Yeah.
Vogel Cove is a daycare that provides daycare for children that are homeless. Now, if you know anything about children, which you know, you can't tell the faces of homeless little kids. A 2-year-old looks like maybe your grandbaby, or a 4-year-old looks like yours. I mean, you just can't tell the faces. Because they're having fun, they're on the floor, the teacher's in the middle of the circle, they're doing the primary colors. But the mother, in the morning, gets on the bus, because it's not a direct route, because she may live in Oak Cliff, so she got to go downtown, get on the transfer, get on another bus, get all the way over to Vogel Cove
With her baby.
with her baby to drop them off. Then she goes to pick the baby up, who's had a wonderful day at the daycare. They go back to Austin Street Center, which is where y'all big donors, the Hunt's on the board. She actually got me on that board, which homeless teaches you a whole different thing. But anyway, they go back. They sleep on a floor. And so what I said humbles me. Says, I dare you, Michelle, be ungrateful for the blessings that you have every day. But because we live in our own world, we get up, we have margaritas on the patio, we're going to have drinks with your friends. You don't realize it until you see it every day. So thank you for all that you do every day to keep us aware of that there are people that are in need.
Praise God.
And we all need those reminders
We all
every
need
once in a
those
while, because wallowing in your own whatever
Yeah.
is not fruitful
Yeah.
at all. I want to talk just a second about the mentors you had along the way. I have a fabulous stepdaughter who has done very well for herself, and I'm fascinated with her trajectory because she had a mentor early on in her business career who really has made, I credit with a lot. I have never met the woman, but each of you had mentors along the way, and I'd like you to share, if you can, a little bit about the relationship and what that was like. And I know yours from the Don Combs. Was that the gentleman's name that you said was your mentor, Don Combs, from the TV station or from the art gallery? That was it.
No, I'm trying to, it's not.
It's not clicking. Don Combs is what I wrote down. So that might have been a user error on the pen. Just went the wrong direction. But
I
didn't
think
you have
of Frank O'Neill at Channel 5, who gave me an opportunity.
Okay, well, tell us about Franco and how that worked out.
I met Frank O'Neill was general manager of Channel 5. This was in 1987. And I had the opportunity to produce some television programs. I was on Campus Crusade for Christ staff, and I had produced some programs. And I went to him, and I wasn't even looking for a job. I just wanted advice. I said, you know, I have this background. I've just moved to Dallas. I'd like to be involved. Can you look at my resume and give me some suggestions? And he said, well, I've always wanted to produce local programming. And he said, you know, go visit the museums and zoos and see what's out there. And so for 8 years, we produced something like 54 locally produced programs that showcased the museums of Dallas and Fort Worth and arts organizations and the zoos. We were at the Dallas Zoo, we were at the Fort Worth Zoo. It was an amazing time for the Channel 5, the TV station, because they changed and never cared about local programming again. And I was exhausted and moved to New Mexico. But it was just a truly amazing opportunity to showcase what was going on in the Dallas-Fort Worth area at that time, because we still do have the amazing museums and the zoos.
So
but
did he coach you, or did he just open the door and
he
sort
just
of guided,
opened the door.
guided it for you?
Yeah.
Did you have a formal mentor in any iteration, in any of your steps along the way?
Well, I think about Doug Adams, who was the news director, and he took a personal interest and helped direct me to various and sundry people who could fill in some gaps and things. So, I mean, it was definitely a group effort. And we all benefited from it. It was a wonderful and very satisfying experience for all of us. And it gave it especially gave the museum community and local arts organizations in the Dallas and Fort Worth area the opportunity to really be showcased.
Right. Love that. And back in the day, more is better.
Yeah.
They needed to know.
Yeah.
What about you and your? It's the relationship, and was it a formal relationship?
It was an invested. They definitely invested in me. So I have two that I can lift up. One was in my 80s, and it was my first job, like I said, in corporate America, and it was a white male, and his name was Ron Hooper. Unfortunately, Ron just passed of heart failure, and I went to the services. And Ron was the one who advocated for me after I got my MBA to get in the credit training program. And so he had to do this. I mean, it has to go to a panel. Everyone has to evaluate it. And so I have credited him to my success in terms of getting in the training program. He also sat down and told me, I think I'd been at the firm a couple of years before I even invested in the 401k plan. And he said, because you have to wait a period of time, but he said to me, Shem, are you investing in the 401k plan they match upon? I said, no, I don't even know anything about that. Because you have to remember, my mom and dad get automatic pension plans, one's at the government, one's teacher retirement. So I didn't know very much about that. And it was him who told me to begin to invest in it. And since then, every time I get a merit increase, I would roll over, because you don't need the little 3 to 4%. You used to what you spend every month. So I just roll it over there. And so the way the reason why the portfolio looks the way it is, I would always credit him, because he poured into me in my 20s. And so that was that. The other one is my mentor, and we call ourselves BFF, Elaine Agatha. She's the chairman of JPMorgan Chase. My office is 2 doors down from hers. She's been at the bank for 40 years, and she said to me, she said, Michelle, I am not leaving this bank. At the time, it's until you become executive director. And she pushed for that. Now it is, I'm not going to leave until you get to be managing director. And I don't know if that's part going to happen, but at least I know she's going to always be there. And that's women that are always supporting women. And she sits at tables that I'm not seated at. And she would tell anybody that she runs into, Michelle's my BFF. And that type of endorsement goes a long way. And I remember, but she'll give you feedback. And what you really need is a lot of feedback. And I remember my first one, because she can be tough. You said, She can be very tough. And she called me in the office one time. She says, Michelle, she said, come in here for a second. Now, I've learned along the way. So I go into the office, and she asked me a question. And I'm like trying to figure out the answer. So I'm just going, and she says, you know what? You went all the way around the block. If that were Jamie Dimon, you don't have that much time with them. You're telling them this, and that, and it's just too long. You just have to start with the facts. So now, she asked me a question. I don't get all twisted. I'll say, Elaine, let me circle back with you. Well, what do you mean? I just asked you a simple question. I said, I don't know the answer. I said, so let me do it justice. Let me circle back with you, because I have to talk slow to her. Because now she's going to come back to, what do you mean you don't know? I don't know. And I don't know how many times you asked me. I don't know. Let me go back, and I'll come back with the answer. But that hard mentoring pays off. So now I know when I go to our office, I'm going to have all the facts. I'll sit down at the table, like, here's what you need to know. Here's when we started this investment. Here's what it looks like. No, we're not going to be able to invest in this. Here's the risk associated with that investment. And we've been doing it for the last 10 years, and we need to recycle the dollars. So you're going to catch me again.
But bam, we say. There you go. So, Lynn, mentorship.
Yeah, I've had a couple, and Dawn Combs is actually
yours?
mine. And
I knew I had it.
when I moved to Boston, again, 23 years old, leaving family, friends, everything, all this, being in Texas your whole life, and move up there. And he was the PhD scientist that founded New England Biolabs. And he was a Harvard scientist, had this great idea. It was a really good idea. And he interviewed me, which in hindsight was very strange, because a lot of people have a lot of different interviews. And I think when he interviewed me, we talked more about Texas, we talked about art, we talked about travel, we talked about my hobbies, and he wanted to get to know me. And I think it was, for one, a biotech company in Boston doesn't have any reason to hire anybody outside of Boston, because you've got Harvard, you've got MIT, you've got Tufts, you've got Boston College. And so really there was nobody else. There was one other person from Rice University. So I think it was almost like I was a circus animal. He's like, I gotta figure what it is. And so anyway, but he hired me on the spot. He asked me one scientific question on what had I cloned, and I went through it, and he hired me, and he was always checking in with me, and he was always talking to me about things other than science. He wanted to make sure that I didn't lose all of my different interests in the things that he thought were very interesting. He was like, she can do the science, she understands the technology, but all this other stuff is really kind of, it's fascinating and it's interesting, and we need to encourage people to not just have their job. I mean, you need to care about all these other things. And so,
let me interrupt. Wasn't he the one that said that you told me, really said it was a women-centric
it was
business?
a very,
He
it was.
set it up with daycare.
He did. So, and
he
this is, half of the company were women. And at that time in science, but again, you've got all these, and schools on the East Coast that, you got smart people everywhere. And so, but he set up a daycare that was on site at New England Biolabs so that he could keep women employed, because he knew that women were going to drop out and not come back. And so at lunch, women go over and have lunch or nurse or do whatever they were doing and come back. So we had daycare on site. The company still has daycare on site. So he was very ahead of, so this would have been 34 years ago. And, the coasts are more, they think about these things a lot more. We're kind of late in some of these opportunities to provide things to women like childcare, but he was ahead of his time on that. But he was also, he wanted to encourage us to keep, not just be one-dimensional in science, but to continue. So he was always checking in with me about what I was reading, or just whatever it was. And so he's been gone now 10 years. He'd be 100 and something if he were alive. But he was a great guy. And then when I moved to Dallas, I quickly got into junior league and a lot of different things. And I was on the board of the Visiting Nurse Association, Meals on Wheels, Elder Care Hospice. And I didn't know who I was in the room with because I was new to Dallas. And I think it was via junior league. And Ruth Altschuler, who some of you might know Ruth, but she didn't know who she was, but she took me under her wing. I didn't know why, and she kept putting me on boards, and she kept calling people about me, and Lynn this and Lynn that, and I would go over to her house, and we'd sit, and she, at 10 a.m., she'd have pink lemonade and sugar cookies, and we'd talk, and she goes, now, Lynn, I really think you need to work on this project. And I'm like, Ruth, I don't know that I'm qualified. I don't know that I need to do this. But it's kind of that person seeing in you what you don't see in yourself, putting you in spaces that you're not ready for, because she knew I would work hard and I'd rise to the occasion. And I did. And the kind of rest, but she was a good friend, and she was a mentor, and I think she's been gone 6 or 7 years now, but she lived 95, 96. And the last time I saw her, this isn't a bragging thing, but I got a Texas Trailblazer Award. And so she came, and she was in the video, and she wanted to honor me, and it was at the Anatole. And I walk her out, and I'm like, Ruth, I want to walk you to the car. And she goes, I don't need you to walk me to the car. I'm going to walk myself to the car. So she shuffles off, and her driver picks her up, and she goes, the next day she fell, and then she got in but I will never forget her looking at me, and she was so proud and so happy. And she just was, and her, help me, I'm just gonna, and so I have really fond memories of her. I spent a lot of time with her, but I was like, Ruth, I'm not qualified to do all this, and I shouldn't be, but she was really encouraging. And
did you ever figure out why she took you under your wing?
I think it's what, I always say when I'm on boards now, I'm looking for people that I'm like, okay, I think they're, they seem engaged, they seem knowledgeable, they seem like they care, they seem like they'd be able to, I'm always, and I think she was looking for, who are we going to pass the baton to? Who's going to take on all these jobs? Who are we going to, leave and trust all this work that we've done? And so I think it was her looking for, she had a group of us that there were 3 or 4 of us, and it was like, oh my gosh, I need to get off the list. But no, it was a good thing. It was definitely a growing thing. But I didn't know. I just, and so she became a really good friend. And one year we worked on the United Way together, and they did this piece on kind of passing on, work to the next generation. And she was 80 and I was 40. And there was obviously like the 60, there was a missing thing there, but I think she was just all about helping bring people along and put people into things that she cared about that were important for our community. So she became just a really good friend.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The relationship was solid.
Oh, yeah.
For all of you with those people. Let's jump forward to the current landscape and any changes that you see or struggles that you see for the up and coming younger workforce that's hitting things. I'm glad I'm not in the young workforce these days. It just seems tough out there on so many levels. And I remember something you told me on the phone about social media that I'll share, which I think is very wise. Just assume that anything you say may be broadcast.
Yeah.
So watch your words.
Yeah.
Can anyone want to jump in and speak to today's environment and what that might feel like?
Yeah, I would say today's environment, I think, for millennials is that I got 2 open positions on the job that I'm trying to hire from. People have remote. Everybody wants to work from home. And I think, COVID made people they just don't feel like going back to the office. And I somewhat get it. But the challenge is for us that have been in the labor market for a period of time, you build those relationships in the office. I wouldn't have a close relationship with Elaine if I'm working from home. She wouldn't have been able, we wouldn't have the mentors that we've had in this space. And so I think that's number one. I don't think that they don't stay at these jobs very long. You never really find anybody that's been on in a
No.
career for 25 years or so.
It's like 3.
It's like 3 at best. And so that's one of the biggest changes that I see in the space. And I don't think they really understand sometimes why, one, the importance of coming back to the office, but our chairman, Jamie Dimon, is clear on it. If y'all have seen any of those videos out there, if you don't want to come back to work, you don't have to. There's some other companies out there for you, but you have to return to the office. And when we first had to go back, I'm one of these people. I have this robust personality. I love meeting people. I attribute it to being an only child. You don't have anybody to play with your toys, so you have to just meet friends. And so, so when I first went back home to work, I was like, I don't know how I'm gonna do this. But then you get comfortable. It's like, oh, let me just, go pick up my cleaning, and I come back and get on Zoom. Then it's like, oh, let me go drop some clothes in the laundromat, then I'm going to come back. I mean, I'm sure that's none of how you all did things at CC Young, but when you're working from home, you just get comfortable. So then when it's time to return back, I'm thinking, oh my God, I have to go back. Now, I couldn't even imagine, like working, it's just one of the things. So back to your question, thank you, is that they don't want to be in an office, and they don't want to work. And they don't stay on the job very long, so don't get attached to them. Don't think you're going ready to celebrate their 5-year anniversary, because that may not happen.
They want to be content creators.
Yes.
Yeah. I'll add to that. I do agree with that. And when I'm hiring, if the person across the table is asking me about their PTO and all their stuff, I'm like, it's in a place for you. If you're not asking me what you can do to help us get these girls to and through college, this isn't a fit, right? And so that's been but I will tell you that there's hope. The girls that are coming out of my schools that are first generation, that haven't had the luxury of having a lot of things, they work so hard. We've got, it's kind of full circle. I've got 3 girls one is from our Lubbock school, one's from our Dallas school, and then the other one's from our Houston school. And I'll tell you what, they're just different workers. And so I think it's, it's not, now they're Gen Z. And so I think that's the millennial thing I've just kind of written off. I mean, that's just kind of, I mean, I hate to say, but the Gen Z, and I have a niece who's a junior at Rice University, and she's working hard. And of course, this is how she's been raised, right? That this is what you do. And so I see these girls that I'm working with that, again, they haven't had the luxury of having a lot of stuff, and they're just going to get through college, and they're going to go back and they invest in their families and their communities, and that's what women do. So there's hope in that piece, but there's a lot of like just I've seen it all. It's the same. I want to talk to you about my vacation and my PTO, and I'm like, I'm not hiring you. That's not, So
I had to interview this person for the job opening that we have. So I said, well, let me just show you how the interview's going to flow. We're going to ask you about 20 questions. For 20 minutes, we're going to ask questions, my colleague and I. And then the last 10 minutes, we're going to reserve for you to be able to ask us questions.
Lord.
His last question was, so what are the hours?
Yeah. No.
What are the work hours? I froze. And I said, I said, I guess, because I don't really know the work hours. You just come to work.
You just do it till the job gets done, right? I don't know.
So I said, the hours are, I guess, would say 8 to 5. I said, I will say this. I said, I'm not a micromanager. I said, I don't care if you get here at 10 o'clock and leave at 2. I said, but I know you're not going to be able to do that because there's too much work to do. So I don't have to tell you what to set your hours at. I'm only concerned about when I ask you for something, you have it. So if you can get it done from 10 to 2, which I know you're not going to be able to do, but I like to make you feel like you can have control of your schedule.
But you don't. Because I'm going to keep piling the work on you.
But then I was like,
I know that.
Are you asking me in this interview? I said,
that's
Adios.
Adios. I like that.
Another place for you. Another company.
Yeah.
Well, Katina, with all your missionary work, I see so many younger people in the missionary space. Do you see that at your church and through your contacts that younger people are keeping up with it, or is it the old guard still?
I think the old guard needs to be encouraging the younger ones. I mean, that's definitely something that we need to be doing, is encouraging, giving them a heart for missions and of committing time that they would go do something with their friends and choosing to go invest in others who need help. I mean, we need to help the next generation really have a heart for other people and not just taking care of themselves.
I think the Gen Z, I see that, and that's the generation that's the youngest, right? It's they're in college right now, and like early, I don't know where it cuts off, but it seems like they're oriented towards, they want to make sure that they're going to ask you about, like, where the money's going and your social impact, all these different things. And so I don't know, that millennial thing, I can't really wrap my head around it, but I haven't had a lot of luck there. But I will say this, there are so many jobs right now and so many opportunities. It's an exciting time if you're young, and you have all of these opportunities ahead of you. It's just, college, multidisciplinary. When we went, it was like you studied biology or chemistry. Now you can get some business in there, and there's just, it's an exciting time, I would think, to learn and lots of opportunities in jobs, but not.
The thing with the younger generation is I want them to have a heart for others, and especially those who need to be invested in and encouraged and brought along. I mean, that takes time, and it needs to be modeled for them.
Right, modeling on every level is so important. 'Cause somebody may not say the words, but if you watch their actions, that to me is impactful. You see really you get the message without them having to say the words, which I think is mostly how my parents were. Very, they were models for me in so many ways.
Yeah,
they never really talked to me about what they were doing, nor did my grandparents, either of them. But boy, I saw it. I believed it. I knew what I was supposed to do.
And you did it with them.
I knew what I was supposed to do without having actually heard the words. And I think we all have experienced that with the stories we're hearing today of our parents and support system. So from a perspective point of view, there's hope, I guess. I mean, sometimes you feel like there's not, but truthfully, I feel like we're at a point in the world when, women certainly have their place, and it's becoming such a matriarchal world of collaboration. I'm hoping we're getting there. We're not, take this with a grain of salt. We're not there yet, but it feels like there's a push for women to make some changes in the coming years as far as collaborating and making new things happen. And do you see that in your respective fields?
I mean, I can say in the women are graduating from college at a higher rate than men, and that's troubling because we want men to graduate from college too. But that is a trend that we're seeing, that this investment in women over, I mean, Title IX was only, 50 years ago, but this investment over time, what that's starting to do. And I mean, we're still way away from, any type of parity in the workforce, but we are seeing women that are, and they're going into different fields because the opportunities are there, but they are graduating from college at a higher rate than men now. So that's,
interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I agree with Lynn. I also think that when you look at the industries, and so, I mean, how many investment banking people are females that sit on the investment desk? I look at that in terms of JPMorgan Chase, and it's majority men that are on the investment desk. And is that because we don't think that women can manage a portfolio of assets? I mean, they may have one or two, but they don't. It's clearly a disparity there. And so I try to look at it in terms of segmentation. So in what industries do we see a lot of women? But I wanted them to also be, I mean, you're probably an anomaly in your industry, biochemistry. Really, are there a lot of you?
There's not a lot. There were not. There was 25%. And I'm really, if you go back, I think about some of my, the Ruth Altschulers and kind of that generation. There would be over 100 now. Some brilliant women that just didn't have the opportunity to be an engineer or to be, and so there aren't a lot of us, but it's getting more. But it's only getting more if we, keep encouraging and,
Yeah.
and again, walking and investing and all these things that we've talked about. And all that is, it's human capital intensive, you know? I mean, that's one thing about, you know, I'm surprised you haven't asked this question about AI, because everybody wants to know about AI. And I always say AI will analyze, it can't empathize, it can't sympathize, it can't be with you, you know? And I think there's always going to be a value in helping guide people, show people, invest in people, encourage people, mentor people, you know? And that's something that the technology can't do. So,
And that's where leaders come from,
Yeah.
is that kind of person-to-person input, which is essential.
I have to tell an AI story though, because it's fascinating to me. I use it a lot for research and to get information, or how do I do this formula? I want to compare these two spreadsheets. Show me how to do this, and whatever I'm looking for. I try to ask it that way and learn as I go. But so I had to have a challenging conversation with someone once in the not too distant past. And I said, I want this to be as compassionate and yet firm as I can possibly be. This is someone I love, and I want to make sure that I deliver the message appropriately. And my buddy, I don't have a name for my chat person, but chat came back and said, I know this is hard, but here's what you need to say. Here's some suggestions. And it listed out all this stuff. And I said, okay, and would you like me to write this in prose, or do you just want bullet? I mean, it was really weird. And I said, no, this is very helpful. And said, you know, I know because you asked this question, you have a heart for this person, and you don't want to. I mean, this was
spooky.
I turned it off and went, oh my God, because it came to me and said, I know this is hard, and just know I'm here if you need me.
Wow.
Right? But it was helpful because I didn't have anybody else I could talk to about this particular issue. So that's one AI story. The other AI story, which I hope you all get to hear soon. A team member, we had a campaign going to write a process and procedure and correct some things that were going on campus. And one of our team members went to one of the AI platforms and said, I want a song about X, Y, and Z, and I want to have these keywords in it. And I'm telling you, the song it wrote the song, it played the song, it sings the song, and it makes you want to cry. It is so fabulous, and we played it at a conference lately as we were walking a panel onto stage and talking. It's scary good, though. I know. I'm leaning into the positives, and the negatives make me nervous. But anyway, there is part of it that's good. Sorry, I had to interject that little tidbit there. Okay, we have about 15 minutes left. I think we may have an opportunity for a question or two if anyone has one. And look at Vanna White's coming up.
Van.
Gotta earn the money. Anyone have
anybody
a
have a
comment or
question?
question? I have one to start. I totally got to ask. So you were telling the story about Chase being acquired and having the tickets to go see Oprah, and it didn't happen. So I was waiting for you to say, and then I got this job, and I'm doing all this work. Did you get to meet her yet?
No. I mean,
Okay.
I mean, it was like a once in a lifetime thing. I'm
No. I'm just saying, 6 degrees of separation. We may know somebody
Ooh.
who could help you. Miss Jocelyn Dorsey was
From
here
a
last year.
Previous
Oh,
women.
wow.
And she was our panelist, and I'm just saying, I'm pretty sure she knows her. And Jocelyn, we're going to send you this video. You got to help our friend out.
Oh, wow, I love that.
And Brian and I need to come along with
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, we all can go. Have her
could
come
happen.
here.
I believe in dreams, you know,
Yeah.
and I'm curious to know, actually, sincerely, what is something that you really want to have happen? Personal, nothing to do with like this talk, but you personally, what would be something that would be a dream come true? Who wants to go first?
Oh, I'm happy to go. So, my dad would be very happy with this. So I hate to tell y'all my age, but I'm okay with it. I am 64 years old.
Awesome.
And I've never been married, and I've never had any children. And so my dream would be to get married one day.
Yeah.
And because I tell you, my mother was a teacher, so if I go to their home, she saved all these books. And I mean, like children's books
Oh.
and videos, and I was never able, and she loved children. And so, and I would always say, I wish you would have adopted one child. Because her first baby, I'm telling y'all a lot about my family, her first baby, she carried for 9 months, had baby showers, and was stillborn.
Oh.
So when she had me, I was like a blessing. And so she just loved and wanted to have a lot of children. So I tell my dad, because my dad will ask, he said, I just cannot believe you've never been married. I said, Dad, every flower blooms at a different time. And he says, well, do you need a little fertilizer?
That's funny.
Here I go. I'm good. I'm good. So anyway, that would be mine. One day.
Okay, well, I gotta think a little.
Katina, do you have anything you want to accomplish from 81 on?
I just want to keep loving all others.
Oh, I love that. You can come over and work over at JPMorgan Chase. You have a heart for philanthropy. I love it.
I do.
I know.
I do. We need to talk.
I know. Love it.
Lynn, how about you?
Oh, I don't know. I work on so many things, and I just want, it's not complicated. I just want good things for people. It's not, it's not complicated. Being kind, reaching out, helping. It's a pretty simple thing, and I wish more people. I mean, we're an exception in here, I believe, and I wish more people would. It doesn't have to be that hard to care about others. It just doesn't.
Just
And-
being
I have
kind.
another
You said
one.
it earlier.
Yeah.
Oh,
I have
go
another
for it.
one.
All right.
What would be my dream? I don't know. If I ask my girlfriends, because I have a diverse set of friends. And I think when you have diversity in your life, it shapes you. And I remember asking this young student in college, when I was recruiting for college campus, recruiting, I asked him, this white male, young student, graduated. I said, tell me about a time when you had to work with people that are diverse. He said, oh, that's easy. He said, play basketball, we're in the locker room all the time, we hang out together, we go to this house, we go to this other house. And I said, that was just, he didn't even think about it because that's his family. So I asked my very good friends, because I have a lot of friends that are white, that are very accomplished, the fabulous, been to their house, been on their plane, whatever. I said, am I your only black friend? I said, do you have some other black friends? They think about it. You have to give it some thought. And I can just rattle them off. And what I say, when I'm saying what I hope for, is that when you have diverse friends in your life, you learn a lot from their experiences. For example, when I went to Norm Bagwell's ranch house with Robin Bagwell, it's two of my girlfriends and me. It's time to go to bed. So I got these big fat pink rollers on my head. They like the ones you snap down. They're big. I hate to say this bad word, but this is what she says, not what I said. She said, you sleep in that shit? I said, yeah. I don't just wake up looking like this every day. I said, I got
work on it.
Yeah, I have to work on it. I got cocoa butter on my face. I got big rollers. And we laughed about it. But you learn a little bit about me.
Oh, yeah.
I learn a little bit about you.
Yeah.
You have a set of diverse friends.
yeah.
It just
do.
makes you rounded in life, and you have so much
so
fun.
true.
So you
It's
ask
fun.
It's fun.
It's fun.
So
Yeah.
sometimes you have to pause sometimes and ask yourself, who are your other friends other than yourself? Because you're learning from it, and they're so much fun. I told them, I said, so, and this is my last thing. So y'all may know Reagan Harshaw and Ken Hershey,
Yeah,
Reagan
yeah.
and Quinn. So they asked me to go to Telluride. I'd never been to Telluride. And she says to me, now, Michelle, now you can bring someone else. You can bring another friend if you like. I said, oh, I'm good. I'm likable. She says, she says, you are likable. So anyway, there you go. I met a whole bunch of friends. It was fun.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's what I would hope for in life.
Yeah.
So just gotta say,
Uh-oh.
Jackson. Okay, there we go. Just gotta say, to your first wish and desire, during COVID, I would walk to the car And every now and then I would see these two residents who I didn't normally see together sitting out under the pavilion. And it became more and more regular that I would see them out there. And like one had lost his wife, and like they befriended one another, and eventually they became a couple and like fell in love. And like, you know, she said, he helped me find the Lord.
Oh.
You know, it just anyway, so I'm just saying it's never too late.
Never too late.
She is just turned 101.
Oh,
Wow.
that's awesome.
She outlived him, you know.
That's
But
beautiful.
it can happen.
I
Just
know.
saying.
Thank
Yeah,
you.
definitely.
Okay. I have been thoroughly enjoyed this. Thank you so much. But this question is for Katina. Katina, I did not hear about your missionary work, and it was so interesting to me, the places you visited. I would like to hear a little bit about one place. I'm sure we don't have time for all of them.
Thank you. Probably the most exciting was when I was in North Africa working with the Sahrawi, who are a tribal group originally from Western Sahara, which was Spanish Sahara. So it's right under Morocco, right above Mauritania. And the Moroccans have pushed the Sahrawi out into the Sahara Desert, and they had to resettle in southern Algeria. So I visited them in, get my dates right, around 2009. And very, very smart. It's interesting, this group of people, when they were pushed out into the desert, two heads of state befriended them, Castro and Gaddafi.
Oh.
I mean, we're not sure about those two, but what they did was they took the young people and they educated them. They gave them high school, college, graduate degrees. And then they were able to come back to the desert and turn this very arid land into a blooming desert. So I spent like 6 years going in and out, and I taught English, and I lived with families. And it's very interesting, the first time I was there had just been kidnappings of some non-government workers who were there from Mali. Soldiers from Mali had come up. And so the family that I stayed with, the mother was determined that there was going to be no kidnapping in her house. And so I had to sleep beside her.
Glad there wasn't.
For like 6 months.
Whoa, okay.
She had gallbladder surgery and was in the hospital for 2 days, and there was this room that could be locked, and I took my little pallet and locked myself in this room with nobody, just me and the pallet. And when she came back, it was like, you can never do that again. But I mean, I was in awe that I was so important to her. I mean, she didn't know me. And I mean, her honor, and this was a Muslim community, her honor was at stake by my being safe.
Wow.
And I mean, she was willing to put her life on the line.
wow.
So that was one of the most beautiful experiences that I had there, and learned a lot about loving others from them.
Good
we could
question.
do a whole program on her missionary trip.
And
That'd
I
be
think we
fascinating.
should. We
yes,
should.
Absolutely.
Did I see a hand go up over here? Any other comments, questions?
Okay, well, I will take the lead here, and I just want to give each of you a moment to close with anything you'd like to say, or perhaps advice for the new generation coming up, or just whatever comes to you. Who wants to go first?
There's something that I've thought about. If I had to say one thing, what would it be? It would be love all others.
Yay!
Yeah.
Makes me want to cry.
Amen.
Yay!
That's good. I would recommend the generation to understand the importance of building relationships. I mean, whether it is personal, in your personal life, whether it is in corporate America, relationships are just everything.
Yes, they are.
And so, I mean, it's just the best. I don't care if you're at church, you need to have relationships. If you are going through something who's going to stand you up, you can always go to someone that you're really, really close to. And if you don't have the relationships and you just live in silo, and you have to reach out to people. I think people oftentimes, you have friendships, but you don't nearly see them as much. I mean, Lynn McBee and I celebrated over, was it the holidays?
That was like 2 weeks ago,
2 weeks,
wasn't it?
well, 3. It was like 3 weeks
I don't know.
ago.
Maybe it was the holidays.
And it was so much fun because we went to Neiman Marcus,
Oh, it was
and
so
it was
fun.
with a table of
Fun.
young women.
Yeah,
And so it was
yeah.
so much fun.
It was a lot of fun. I
Yeah.
learned a lot from them.
You didn't know?
Yeah,
I know.
a whole lot.
A whole lot. So anyway, relationships.
Yeah, I would say slow down, like to everybody. I mean, I think we live in such a fast world with our phones and our technology, and slow down and pay attention to people, because people, we need, I've already said my bit on AI, and I just, being empathetic, caring about people, but you got to be present, and you got to be paying attention, and you got to slow down to do that. So
Right.
put the phone down and have real conversations. Put the phone down. When I go to restaurants and I see a family and they're like all on their phone, I'm like, why are you even doing this? Like, just eat at home on a cardboard table. So I think if everybody can just check their technology and be together, and really, golly, there's just nothing better than having a cup of coffee with someone and
And
catching
you
up.
said it early on, be kind.
Yeah,
I
that's
mean,
just it's not hard
so
to do that.
easy to be kind,
I don't know
and
why-
it makes
yeah.
such a difference.
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
Okay, you all, was I right? Was this not fabulous, this group? Yay, thank you all so much for being with us tonight. It is such an honor to experience each of you in your own way and in your own field, and I know I feel inspired, so thank you again.
Thank you.
And-
Thank you.
Oh my gosh, my treat. We will see you in another year as we host and celebrate women in Women's History Month. She thought she could, she believed she could, so she did.
We have a little token of appreciation for each of you on the table in front of you.
Wow.
And we just
I'd like
thank
to
you
give
so
mine to
much.
the oldest
To
person
all
here.
of you in the audience watching at home and here, I just want to make sure that you know that in the next month and then the coming months, we're going to start a really cool series about travel and the connections that people make with places, people, and experiences, very similar to this kind of panel discussion. And I hope that you'll be a part of that conversation and look for more info about it. And we do look forward to next year's Women's History program. Thank you for being here.
Can we give this to whoever the two oldest are?